Welcome to the fight of your life. Are you willing to die to shine? Nobody is taking us down. We are here for the crown of sound.
Hey, this is Josh from the Power Hour. We are here with Ville Valo. Ville, how are you, sir?
I'm doing wonderfully at this particular moment in time. Thank you for asking. What about yourself?
Doing wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Finland, live on the air. It's such an honor. You obviously legendary frontman of him, 8 albums, 10 million albums sold, Grammy nominations. But this is your first time ever doing a solo record. Tell us about that.
Oh, yeah, I was kind of forced, after him disbanded in 2017, I really didn't know what to do and whether I still have anything to say musically, that is. And then when the pandemic hit, music came to my rescue once again and sort of like gave me a reason to wake up each and every morning. Music is like gives me this existential right to be and breathe on this planet. That's how it's always felt for me. And since it was during the pandemic, it was really hard to get a new band together. So I started working on solo stuff by myself, literally solo, doing the Prince, Lenny Kravitz sort of vibe. Then I liked what I heard, and so did Tim Palmer, the co-producer and mixing engineer of the album. So we ended up doing it like that. So I played everything. I engineered, produced, wrote, and performed everything by myself. And it was just I thought that it's just a hilariously insane task and challenge to put yourself up to. So I thought that I wanted to give it a go, and especially doing something that is different from my past. I thought that that's an important thing to do. Keep yourself on your toes, and that's how it all happened, bit by bit, song by song, and then about a year ago, I had most of the album done, and I felt like we're ready to go. With the idea of touring and getting the album actually out to people to hear. So that's what we're here.
I love, I read a great quote from you about this new album, saying that it's a mix between the Mamas and Papas, Metallica, wearing, going to a Halloween party at Studio 54. And I was like, that is, you, you've caught my interest.
Yeah, I wanted to come up with all the goods, not just some of it.
That's incredible. So you recently wrapped a European solo tour, and you're about to come to the States, and shows are already selling out. What do you think? Do you think, obviously, since him last toured, that there's only been sort of a longing and a hype. Are you excited for these shows coming up?
I was super excited. I've been quite positively overwhelmed by the response on the European leg of the tour. It was because you can never take this for granted, and you can never really expect in advance or how it's going to be, and it was amazing. There was a lot of younger people who never had the chance to see him live back in the day, and a lot of people in my tender age or even a bit further, it was it was very special. It was a lot of nostalgia. As we're playing quite a bit of hymn songs with the band too, but
Right.
But it still has a sense of something new, like a rebirth sort of idea. Because the last time around we toured as him, toured in the States, it was our farewell tour, so he had this sort of melancholy vibe to it, and we knew that the end of things. But now, since this is a new beginning, it feels like springtime, which it is, on various levels. So it's good to be back, and it's great to start the tour from Philly. And there's a lot of familiar places, a lot of familiar clubs, and I'm sure a lot of familiar faces as well. So yeah, it feels surreal after all this time to be able to do this once again.
I know, there's probably artists like Typo Negative that were a big influence on you. I feel there is almost a renaissance now for them and for yourselves, as far as this sexy gloom goth kind of music almost having a rebirth, and what's it like now, coming back and now seeing probably the younger bands that might have come up listening to him now making their own music? Do you see like your fingerprints over some of those artists?
No, I don't want to take the credit, because I always thought that we were just following. We were carrying the torch for Typo and Black Sabbath and all those bands, and I think you have to be, or at least I think I have to be quite humble. There's a lot of masters we sort of like ingeniously try to steal from. Not too much to get caught, but still. And we succeeded, and we're able to continue doing that for such a 25 years plus. So it's amazing to be back, and it is indeed quite odd to meet people who said that their parents were listening to him stuff, or that they started to listen to him when they were 10 years old, and it feels great because I was just talking to my mom regarding aging, and we came to the sort of like the we started with, oh, she said to me that human beings were like candles. The wick is the same, but we melt on the outside. But the ideas are exactly the same how we were when we're 12 or 14 or whatever. Vocabulary is bit changed along the way, I think, but and hopefully it is. But by that I mean that the sort of like getting into music and being a fanboy of sorts, that's never changed. I'm still a big fan of music, and I'm super excited to be on tour and to be able to be part of all this rock and roll realm of whatever you want to call it. It's quite an amazing deal, and to be able to do it for such a long time is amazing.
Well, you also haven't aged either, so at the same time. So you
A
are
picture of Dr. Ray. Yeah, you should see my portrait on the attic.
you keep it in the attic upstairs. No, I like as I had the pleasure of working at Revolver magazine, back in the day, and got to be the art director there, and right at the height of him, and how many photo shoots and the Golden God Awards and all this great stuff we got to do together. Was so excited to see you back and touring again. Obviously one of the great most iconic parts of your original band, of course, solo work, and right behind you right now is the Heartagram, and this is an incredible, design that, you came up with, I believe in your early 20s. Can you tell us about the original concept and, what that symbolizes for you?
Well, I think it was when we're trying to find out our identity as a band, and myself as a songwriter, because I always dug Roy Orbison as much as I dug Black Sabbath.
Right.
So I love music to have this tenderness and this sense of the romantic, as well as the doom and the gloom and the sort of more heavy aspect. And I always loved symbols. I always loved that. I loved a lot of the metal bands and their symbols and their logos. And of course, I was wishing and hoping for it to be able to create something as memorable. And then since we called him, it felt hard to make it really stand out. Especially there used to be a gay porn magazine in the 70s called Him. So that always sort of like I lost my concentration whenever I started working on the logo. So I thought that symbol would travel way better also because it doesn't need any verbal communication. And since I come from a country with a lot of black metal, and that was the mid-90s, that was the time when the churches were burning in Norway, and it was a big deal, the sort of like Satanic Panic Part 2. And I wasn't a big fan, so I thought that it's a sort of like a tender way of lifting a middle finger up to people who take themselves a bit too seriously and call what we do love metal, and then come up with a symbol that is a combination of a heart and the pentagram, and call it the Heartagram. To me, it just made complete sense, and to me, it's been my sort of like my mandala since that time. It's my focal point, and it's traveled incredibly well. It's traveled through, when we meet like Kat Von D, she tattooed it on her body, and that was at that time when Bam Margera was doing his show, and a bit before he was doing Jackass stuff, and he fell in love with our band, and we directed a couple of videos for it, and through all that stuff, the symbol started to live a life of its own. It's traveled even better than the music, so in that sense, I do consider that to be my greatest achievement, the symbol, and I'm happy for it. It's quite special to see how it still seems to resonate with people and means different things to people, and means maybe the camaraderie between people who've met along the way, with him being the soundtrack to their friendships or their relationships and all that stuff. And I feel really special, you know. So I don't know what the heck went on in my brain when I came up with it, but I'm definitely happy that I did.
How many people do you think walking this planet right now have a heartagram tattoo?
Oh man,
I'm sure you've seen so many in your time, right?
I've seen all sorts of versions and these ornamental things, and I've seen probably thousands already. And but it's once again, it feels surreal. It's like the thing I mentioned about coming back and playing music and, you
Right.
know, flying over to the great US of A, you know, being able to tour there in the, you know, in the world and land of my sort of a lot of my heroes. It's the same as touring the UK for the first time, you know, going to Birmingham where Black Sabbath from. Same as, you know, playing Whiskey for the first time, or Roxy.
Right.
And now come back and playing Irving in New York City, and the Belasco in LA, for example. That, you know, it's so much tradition, so much mythology, and to be able to be part of that is beyond my wildest dreams. And to be able to still be part of that, at least I'm trying, you know.
Right.
My
Absolutely.
last
No, I think, you know, and I think the logo, you look at some artists like, you know, like the Misfits or you know, Joy Division, and these logos have even transcended, like you said, like it became a pop culture thing
yeah.
beyond beyond even the band. I think there's those folks that could you know, get down with that meaning even beyond the music, which is incredible, right? They said you've
Yeah,
created something that's really stood the test
yeah,
of time.
indeed. The only thing I'm missing is H&M. You know, that's what's going to set me apart. So, you know, when I get there, along with
Once you get the
Mo,
H&M deal, then you
Motorhead,
know, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So finally, I read this really cool stat about you that obviously you know you have this incredible vocal range, but there was this great study recently that says you have the 8th highest vocal range in music history. They did
Oh,
they did a scientific study, and they put all these singers against each other, and you are number 8 of all time. And I think that's pretty insane. What is that? What's it like being born with such a gift?
oh man, that's such a weird thing to hear. Never heard about that before. Well, I think it all means that I'm very indecisive when it comes to being a singer. I'm not sure whether I should be a crooner or
You could
whether I
also
should.
answer in all 8 ranges to prove, you know, you could. No, I'm just kidding.
Come on now, you know. But it's, yeah, I'm not sure whether I wanted to be a part of the Bee Gees or wanted to be, you know, sort of Bing Crosby,
Right.
the Finnish version. So yeah, it's a like yeah, I guess it was musical indecisiveness, and the fact that you know, the voice is all we have, and you want to be heard when you're in a rock band, and you do everything you can to take the attention away from the guitar player who's trying his best to take the attention away from me while doing his
Right.
solo. It's a forever an ego competition, isn't it?
That's so great. Well, you know, Ville, congratulations on Neon Noir and the whole all the new album, the tour. We're so excited to see you here in the States soon. And thank you so much for taking the time and joining us today on the Power Hour.
Thank you so very much. See you soon, Tor.
Alrighty.